Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Randy Wilburn, your host for the Onward Ozarks program brought to you by the Northwest Arkansas Council. I'm excited to be with you guys today. We've got an amazing program scheduled for you. Many of you have been to multiple meetings that we've had online. We've only actually had one in person since the start of this whole project, but eventually we will see you guys face to face at some point in time. But until then, this is the next best thing. And today, we have an outstanding program for you talking about Northwest Arkansas, telling the NWA story. And so I'm excited today because this is actually one of the reasons why I started my podcast, I Am Northwest Arkansas. It was, I wanted to know more about what made Northwest Arkansas tick, what made it so special. As I told a lot of people back in the day, like 10 years ago, if you had said to me I was going to be moving to Northwest Arkansas, I would have said you're a liar. Now I'm converted, and I'm part of this group of people that believe that this is one of the best parts of the country to live in. And so we have assembled a who's who of individuals that are going to share with you today a little bit about how we tell the Northwest Arkansas story. And this is beneficial on multiple levels. One, simply because there are a lot of people trying to come here and they need to understand the why behind why Northwest Arkansas as opposed to maybe going to Austin or, somewhere out west or, and I could think of a million reasons maybe to go to other places, but we have a lot of really good reasons to come right here. And so today we're certainly going to give you that ammunition. We're going to talk about the Lifeworks Here program, and we're going to talk about how we've started to just slowly turn the tide of opinion when it comes to what Northwest Arkansas is all about. It takes time, it takes effort, and the folks that we've brought on today's episode of Onward Ozarks are going to kind of share with you their story and why they have found success in telling the story of Northwest Arkansas. So, without further ado, I want to welcome Jillian Dresser. She is creative director of Walrus. Walrus is a creative shop in Union Square in New York City. Want to welcome Jeff Hale. He's the head of design at Walrus. Also welcome JT Jaron, who is the deputy director of communications and marketing for our own Runway Group. And then I want to welcome the fabulous ladies from Jazzy J, NWA, and Black owned NWA, Jerron Merchant and Jasmine Hudson, to join us on Onward Ozarks today. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thank you,
Doing
Randy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Well, it's good to have you guys all here, and I know that there are going to be. I want to just going to get some house notes out of the way. There are going to be questions. I know a lot of you that are watching this particular program are going to have questions. Some of you might be trying to recruit talent to come here to Northwest Arkansas. Trust me, this is being recorded. You're going to want to watch this again. But take notes and certainly lean into these experts that we have assembled here today, so that you can learn better ways to accentuate the positives of Northwest Arkansas. And I'll just share this one key stat that I thought was interesting, and it just came out this morning. I was reading, was some additional data points from the U.S. Census Bureau, and of 73% of U.S. counties in the whole country are declining in population. That's up from 56% in 2020. And so I think that's significant and very telling. And there's a few counties that are growing. And can you guess that Benton County grew by 3.3% in 2021, Madison County grew by 2.7%, and Washington County grew by 1.7% last year. So these counties that make up or comprise Northwest Arkansas are actually doing quite well and are growing. And the individuals that you're going to hear from today play a role in that growth, and we want to continue to see and spur on that growth. So, without further ado, let's jump into the program and let's get started. I want to start out with, because Walrus had such a prominent role in the Lifeworks Here program and developing it. I want to start off with Jillian and Jeff. Just why don't you guys just introduce yourselves and tell us about what it was like, what you do, and then tell us what it was like shaping the story of Northwest Arkansas.
Sure, I can start. So I'm Jillian Dresser. I'm a creative director at Walrus in New York City. And, we worked on coming up with the tagline Lifeworks here for the whole program and the identity as well, and all the visual elements that went along with it. And then an ad campaign that we ran in 6 different markets across the country. And so for us, it really started with all the research that Nate and his team over at NWA Council provided, and we poured through that. But it wasn't until we visited the region that we fell in love and became true converts, right? And so that really helped shape all the work that we did because we believed in it. And after I went, I had to convince my husband to try to move down there. But he's a native New Yorker, so that's a no-go. But it almost worked.
Oh, I love that. I mean, yeah, I'm from right outside of New York City, and like I said, it is once you get here, you realize that this is just a different place. So, Jeff, why don't you kind of give your thoughts?
Um, my name's Jeff Hale. Yeah, nice to be here with everybody. I'm the head of design for Walrus. I've got a trash truck out front right now, so excuse the sound.
It's New York City.
Yeah, and I specialize in branding development, logo design, and type design, and I was passionately engaged with this project and helped design the logo. It just was wonderful to immerse myself in this project and to get to know the region a little bit. I don't know. I think we were excited to be involved in such a large scale branding initiative, and I think we realized something that was really special, and we didn't really fully unpack that until we were in the region.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be here and experience it in order to talk about it. I think I think that's how I felt when I came here, and I know a lot of other people that I've talked to that have recently relocated, and they weren't sure, but once they got here, just the experience of the people and the culture and just life in general really helped catapult them into a whole different mindset and school of thought. JT, why don't you introduce yourself? And you are here and part of Runway Group, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, Randy. Thanks for having me. I'm our Deputy Director of Communications and Marketing at Runway Group. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Runway Group, we're a holding company that makes investments in outdoor recreation, hospitality, aviation, art, real estate, a lot of different areas, but all with one goal and purpose in mind. That's to help move Northwest Arkansas forward and to make it the best place to live in the country. So this is a subject matter today that's right up our alley. I know we're specifically going to talk a little bit about Oz Brands, which is owned by Runway Group. So some of you may be familiar with Oz Trails, Oz Art, Fly Oz, and some of the unique cultural and outdoor recreation experiences that we like to marry together in the land of Oz.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, JT. And we saved the best for last. And all of you guys are the best, but these guys are really actually good friends of mine. And they were some of the first people that I met as an African American coming to Northwest Arkansas. I wasn't sure what to expect. And I ran across Black owned NWA and Jazzy J almost immediately. And we've been fast friends ever since. That's like 8 years now, and they are outstanding. So, Jasmine, Jerron, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Jay, you want to go?
I'll go first. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
My name is Jaren Merchant, but everybody calls me Jay. I am a freelance illustrator animator, and I'm one half of Jazzy J NWA and also one half of Black owned NWA.
Yeah, and I am Jasmine Hudson. By day, I am a Walmartian. But outside of that, again, one half of Jazzy J and one half of Black owned NWA, and really the overall purpose and goal of what we do in Northwest Arkansas in the community is really just to amplify, celebrate, and just share kind of the Black experience in Northwest Arkansas, be it through Jazzy J and WA and our shenanigans, or just the Black owned businesses, things to do, places to go in Northwest Arkansas through Black owned NWA.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
So I want to go back, JT, to you, and since you are of communications and marketing at Runway Group, what is one of the best ways that you have found to describe Northwest Arkansas to an outsider, right? Because I'm sure you do that a lot, as do most of the people in on this panel. But I would love for you to kind of share that.
Yeah, the elevator pitch probably that I would use, Randy, would be we're a region of cities, which is, I think, a difficult concept for some folks to understand. I grew up I'm originally from here, but I grew up largely in Atlanta. And so a lot of my friends back there, I'm like, it's difficult to describe, well, we're not this city. And then there's all these, a perimeter and an outline. We're this region of cities that all come together and work together to move the region forward, powered by 3 incredible companies that are headquartered here and a top 50 public research institution in Fayetteville. And all 4 of those groups and the region all work together in collaboration. But we're also surrounded by this incredible naturescape all around us here in the natural state. So you have this incredible, mighty economic engine in this region of cities that is nestled in the heart of the Ozarks.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually good. I'm going to have to rewind that back and steal that. So I appreciate that.
Trademark.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Jay and Jasmine, why don't you guys give us your quick elevator pitch for Northwest Arkansas? I'd love to hear your take on that.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So we, how do we describe Northwest Arkansas? We always call it the US's best kept secret. Yeah. And it's our job to let the secret out. So what we really love about Northwest Arkansas is really just the ability for us to thrive here, as we're also entrepreneurs. And the resources that are here that surround entrepreneurs, and the way that Northwest Arkansas is hyper local. Which we absolutely love. So when it comes to, I gave kind of like the previous elevator pitch for Jazzy J and Black owned NWA, but our tagline for Northwest Arkansas is just, it's the US's best kept secret.
Yeah. It's a hidden gem.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's funny. We actually had the chance, both myself and Jay and Jasmine had the chance to interact with a bunch of minority mountain bikers that descended upon Northwest Arkansas just last week, 60 of them from all over the country. And they were asking a million questions about Northwest Arkansas. But the one thing that I think I heard over and over again was, wow, I had no idea. I had no idea that you guys had these many mountain bike trails. I had no idea that you had the green space was what it was. I had no idea that the culture, that the food. I mean, it just went on and on. And so it made me proud being now I call myself a local. It made me proud to hear that from somebody that was not from here. And I think that's kind of how do you kind of capture that lightning in a bottle and export it to the world so that they all know that this is a really great place to come. It's a great place to raise your family. I would love to ask the folks from Walrus because you guys are technically outsiders, even though you've played a role in this campaign. But I would be curious to know, what did you find was the best way to describe Northwest Arkansas to an outsider from your perspective in the research that you did about this area?
Yeah, I think one of the things that struck me is that Northwest Arkansas is a place where you can go and have that work-life balance that we all seek. I think especially when you talk to folks on the coast, that's like a unicorn that we're all trying to find, and it exists in Northwest Arkansas. You can go and you can work for a Fortune 500 company or start a dream business that you've always wanted, but also at the end of the day, you can go mountain biking with your family right outside your front door. So it's incredible.
Yeah. Jeff, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just echo that. I mean, I think initially I was really struck by the beauty of the region. Yeah, it was something that was surprising to me. The Ozarks and the hills and valleys. But I think it was just the sense that Northwest Arkansas was like growing and blossoming like before your eyes. It's like this cultural center is just really like transforming. I mean, for me, it was revelatory being in the region after reading about it and doing all the research. And I have a father and a brother who are architects. So for me, immersing myself in sort of that urban development, that landscape, and sort of seeing what's going on there, it's almost like an experimental hopper of planning and design from that perspective. So I was really excited to see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually glad you mentioned that development, because the Urban Land Institute, the largest organization, one of the largest land planning organizations in the world, actually has a location right here in Northwest Arkansas, and they've seen that there needs to be significant focus in this area about how we plan out, the next 20 to 30 and or even 40 years of growth and development. And so, I think people listening to this need to realize that those that live here, as well as those that might be coming here, is that this area is being developed and is growing, but with purpose, not just like random growth here and there and just kind of matter of fact. There is real intentionality behind the growth that's happening here. Would you agree with that, JT?
I would, and in particular, Randy, as it pertains to trail development and the growth of trails, we're building trails at a clip of 1.5 miles per week in Northwest Arkansas,
Yeah.
and which is an extraordinary rate. We're also a hub for trail building innovation. No one is doing more in dynamic, new, and interesting trail building anywhere in the world than right here in Northwest Arkansas. The International Trail Builders Conference was actually in downtown Bentonville last week. So we continue to see that validated by third party affiliates and outsiders and vendors as they come here and explore the region as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what do we have? Almost 500 miles of trails. I think it's some ridiculous number. I was telling somebody the other day that I'm a road cyclist. I do a little bit of mountain biking, and there's plenty of mountain bike trails. But I told somebody that I can get on my road bike and never see a car, and I can get a 50-mile ride in. And that's, you can't say that every place. And so, I mean, I think it's significant. And we have become more of a bike culture, a cycling culture here in Northwest Arkansas, and that has also taken on new meaning as we continue to grow out these and expand these trails. So Jay and Jasmine, I'd be curious to know what are one or two things that resonate with most people, that when you describe the region to them, when you describe the area, maybe to your friends or others that you're talking to, what are one or two of the things that seem to resonate most with people?
Um, I think one, how tight knit the community is. I didn't realize how tight knit Northwest Arkansas is as a region until I had the opportunity to move to the city. And then also, this is like when they say Arkansas is the natural state, this is the natural state. Like if you work all week, but when you want to have that break and go and experience like nature and just get out and get some fresh air, you can totally do that here.
And just to kind of build on that a bit, on the first point, one of the things, especially with people of color, thinking or considering Northwest Arkansas as a place to visit or a place to move, is will they feel safe and welcome? And I think that's one thing that they're shocked to hear whenever we're just kind of describing Northwest Arkansas as just a very welcoming place. So to Jay's point, when we moved to Jersey for like 7 months, which that's a whole wild story, and we were, it was at the height of COVID. We didn't have masks or anything, and we went on a Facebook rant on the fact that we didn't have eggs. We were just really mad that we didn't have eggs. And of course, Northwest Arkansas, our family here, they sent us cases of farm fresh eggs with hopes that a dozen will actually make it. And then several of them hand sewed, masks to send to us while we were, going through the pandemic in Jersey. So that just is a testament to how close the community is here, how welcome we feel. And we don't have immediate like blood family here, but we do consider a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas our family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I personally have felt that with a lot of people that I've become friends with, whether they were guests on my podcast that are now personal friends. And I always feel that warmth and love. And every now and then I keep trying to pinch myself to say, is this real? I mean, are people I'm just waiting for, because I've lived on the coast, right? And I've lived in areas where, people kind of don't wear their emotions on their sleeves, kind of like they do here. So it's different. You don't know if you're really connecting with people in different parts of the country. And I'm not going to mention any to not disparage any well-worn cities, but the bottom line is that I find that that there's a level of warmth here that not that it doesn't exist in other places, but it's a lot harder to get to. Whereas when you scratch right below the surface, you find exactly what Northwest Arkansas is all about, and I like that. So I think that's a good thing. We did have a question that came up, and I certainly wanted to, interject some of these questions. So as you ask these questions, we will add these to the mix. But one question came up from Damar Baker, who happens to be a friend, and that's the crazy thing. There is a couple hundred people on this call, and I may know a bunch of these people just because of how tight knit our community is, and that's the thing about that's the other thing about Northwest Arkansas. Once you come here, people embrace you. But Damara said, as we keep attracting more people to move to Northwest Arkansas, what are we doing to ensure that those already here don't feel misplaced or left out? Some may want to keep intact the authenticity of being local. And JT, I would ask that question of you, since with Runway Group, not only are you trying to attract people to come here, but you're also trying to continue to grow the ecosystem that is Northwest Arkansas in a lot of different areas. So what would be your response to Damara with regard to that question?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's a very real challenge, and I think we should be honest about that. But I think what we have going for us is we have a really authentic culture, and we've built a community of people that genuinely are passionate about the area. I think I might be the only person on this call. Actually, I think Nate, who was on the panel, that was like born here. And I've left twice, and I keep coming back, boomerang, because there's something magnetic about this place. There's something that draws you in. And as I sit here with some transplants, my wife, I transplanted here as well. We create evangelists for the region when you come here and when you live here. And I think as long as we continue to be authentic and honest about who we are and welcoming people of all different backgrounds, from all different regions, then we will continue the growth and love for this region grow. But I think it's important that we're authentic to who we are, and that we are fair and honest about sharing the world-class amenities that we have, and diversifying those world-class amenities. So we need to be open and honest about the things that we don't have in the region, and figuring out better ways to bring them here so that more people can feel at home.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd be curious to ask the Walrus team, were there any, in your research as you were putting together this program, how did that factor, what we just talked about, how did that factor in how the locals might think about certain things as opposed to the people that you're trying to attract, right? Because I'm sure it wasn't just a one-sided focus. You had to kind of look at it from a holistic perspective. So I'd be curious to know how Walrus tackled that whole theme or subject matter.
Sure. I think and we're going to show some videos that we created later, but within that, it was really important to us that we showed the whole region kind of like a fly on the wall. Like if you're an outsider looking in, we're going to show it authentically and how it really is, so that you can get you can visualize yourself there and coming there. And I think, in doing so, we hired local people to be in our ads, and we wanted to make it feel like this is what's really here. It's no smoke and mirrors here. This is what it is. And the region's so beautiful and so authentic anyway, it was not hard to do.
Yeah. Jeff, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, it was easy to deliver on that. And I think it was a matter of just like kind of digging into what was going on and finding a way to highlight that, in some of this marketing and the work we were doing, it was all there. So we just needed to, put a spotlight on it.
Okay. Well, let's take kind of dovetail into that, right? Because I mean, that's the whole focus of this particular Onward Ozarks event, telling the Northwest Arkansas story. Because I think in the breadcrumbs that you guys can leave through the way that you develop this campaign, I think others that are trying to attract people to come here, that may have to have their own elevator pitch, you might be able to give them some things to think about. But as you worked with the Northwest Arkansas Council on the development of the Lifeworks Here campaign, what process did you go through to build such an authentic brand campaign. So what did that process look like, and how long did it take?
Sure. It's I think we've been working on it for, I don't know, a little, Nate can probably say, but a little over a year. We launched our campaign in August of 2021. And it started with a tagline, Lifeworks here for the region, but then it was a full ad campaign after that. And again, it started with all the research that Nate provided. It started from us visiting there. And we felt it was really important to sort of understand the current perceptions of the region and sort of raise the profile of Northwest Arkansas, and then shift that narrative so that people, become believers as we did when we visited.
Okay. And Jeff, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's interesting as the designer on this because, it's a matter of distilling some of these concepts, but the tagline and like this this work-life balance that was evident visiting is something that like really informed actually the way you approach the design of the logo and all those components. So.
Okay. All right. So why don't we kind of take a look at Jillian? Why don't we take a look at the actual advertising campaign that's running throughout the country? Because I think a lot of times, I know I've seen a number of ads, but I know I was somewhere and I saw an ad for Northwest Arkansas, and I was like, "Oh man, that's my place. Those are my people." And so I would be curious to know, or you can kind of walk us through the actual advertising campaign that you've pushed out to the world to tell them about Northwest Arkansas. And I think you may even have a video that you want to share with us as well.
Yes, we have some visuals. I'm happy to share.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so again, the goal of Lifeworks here was to sort of raise the profile of the region and to shift that perception that people have who are not familiar with it, right? And the Lifeworks here tagline, I can talk about that for starters, because that's where we started. Kind of came out of that idea that you can come to Northwest Arkansas and have a million experiences in a day, and you can have the work-life balance that you want. You can work for a Fortune 500 company and go mountain biking in the afternoon, as I mentioned. So it's that double entendre of you can come here and have a great work life, but you can also have a life. And that's where the tagline fell out of. And Jeff can talk about the actual look and feel that we developed for it.
Yeah, and I'll just briefly talk about that. But yeah, I think it was about kind of encapsulating like it through graphic language, the like excitement and innovation that was happening in the region. But there were, like I said, I drew from some things happening. I think what's interesting about like architecture and urban planning there is like there is this dialogue of community there. There is a pragmatism to the architecture. It's not, there's a local vernacular that's informing it. So it's not like this hyper realized architecture on steroids thing happening. So I think this pattern language that we were picking up when we were visiting, or at least I was as an artist and a designer, is something I wanted to translate into a logo that was a simple thing. And like for me, the letter forms being lowercase or like the shape of them was something that I wanted to be informed by what was happening around the region. And so it's a distillation. It's a really simple form, but in the end, it's a distillation of a lot of work and a lot of thinking and a lot of looking and research. So and then the color palette and the rest of the typographic language that we put together for this expanded that feeling, or that was the intent, And I think it was successful.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And
there's a few slides here. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, and I'll just add on there that, our branding work, our logo work and design work for NWA led to a rebrand for the airport for XNA. And that was, they really, really were excited about the work we'd done. So we were able to connect those two. Obviously, you can see there's a real reflection, kind of a mirroring of the graphic language there, which is great. It was super exciting to bring that all together, and it just enhances this sense of excitement, but also this local identity that's happening,
Can I just add one piece? That picture that people are seeing right there is part of, I believe that's part of the expansion at XNA that we featured on the inaugural episode of Onward Ozarks. So there was an actual video for that Height Jackson had done, an outstanding architectural firm based up in Rogers. And so, it's kind of nice to be able to see this come together and to see I mean, a lot of people have put a lot of hard work into this, including the team at Walrus. And so I think it's important for us to realize that these things don't just happen overnight. And I mean, this would certainly, I mean, this is really a great example of that. But I'm sorry, Jeff, you can keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't add much more except for just that I think, picking up on that energy and like the opportunity to sort of like, I don't know, encompass that or with the graphic language was exciting to us, and I think there were some points of reference for us like Marlon Blackwell, in addition to other research that we wanted to soak up what we could that was inspiring that was happening in that area.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know, and a good question was brought up just in terms of at what length did you go to in terms of focus group conversations across the region to get not just to get buy-in, but to get collaborative ideas about this program? So were city leaders involved? Were there mayors involved? I mean, just for the input piece of this, how did you guys go about that? Because that seemed like that would have been a big lift.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the research that we got came from Northwest Arkansas Council, right? So that's where we started, and that's where our brief came from, for the most part.
Okay, all right. Do you want to continue showing some of the pictures there, Jillian?
Yeah. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual ad campaign. So we ran video in 6 different markets, and out-of-home billboards, social, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Hulu, YouTube, Google. And then the 6 different markets we were in, see if I can name them all: Seattle, Austin, Dallas, Minneapolis, and Denver and Atlanta were the 6 markets. And we started with video, and this is where we really brought to life the region for people and helped and aimed to help prospective talent visualize their life in Northwest Arkansas, right? And this is sort of that moment when you've discovered NWA, it's this diamond in the rough, and now you've decided to move there, and you need to break the news to your friends and family who may not have the same perception of it as you do because you've become this believer, right? So this is our spot that we're calling Dear Family, and I'll play it.
Dear Family, I'm writing to inform you that we're moving to Northwest Arkansas. Yep, you heard that right. It's not what you think. There's actually a lot going on. 3 huge companies, lots of startups, and your money goes way further. This is a high school. That's the art museum. And that one too. And, well, I guess there's just art all over. And the mountain biking, seriously. We're definitely going on a food tour when you visit. There's a million things to do here. And opportunity everywhere. Maybe that's why everybody's suddenly moving here. Anyway, you'll see. Northwest Arkansas. Life works here.
So that was our anthem spot. And then we also created some how-to videos that were a little more cheeky that aim to help you break the news to people in your circle, right? So how to tell your spouse you're considering a move to Northwest Arkansas, or how to tell your children or your parents or your friends. So I'll play through a couple of these too. They're kind of quick and fun.
How to tell your spouse you're considering a move to Northwest Arkansas. Step 1, remind them of your vows. Step 2, dream job. Real house, bike trails, commute time, art museums, food scene. It's like Austin, but cheaper. Keep going. Step 3, Zillow rabbit hole. Northwest Arkansas. Life works here. How to tell your kids you're moving to Northwest Arkansas. Step 1, inform them that it's an actual place. Step 2, house with yard, maybe a dog, mountain biking. This is your new high school, named one of the coolest places to live, film festivals, events, and yes, there's Wi-Fi. Northwest Arkansas, life works here.
And then in out-of-home billboards, we took a swing at some of the markets that we were featured in to kind of give Northwest Arkansas a little bit of swagger and put us on the map on the same tier of all these other great cities in the U.S. So this one was one that ran in Seattle. Go South, young tech workers. Our Fortune 500 companies are hiring. This one was in Austin. Careers in tech are moving north by northeast. Or another one in Dallas. Make Texas one of your exes. You belong here. Lifeworks here, Northwest Arkansas. We ran social across all of our markets too. So these again kind of take a little bit of a jab at the markets we're in, like in Minnesota, heat up your career, thaw your toes, or boom goes the tech scene in our Northwest Arkansas, and one in Denver, welcome to the greater outdoors. One in Minnesota, more mountain biking, less snow shoveling. One in Seattle, 500 miles of bike trails, 200 days of sunshine. And one for Denver, the Mile High City, boost your career, lower your altitude. And then for LinkedIn, we ran a bunch of ads that again kind of aim to shift the perception and raise the profile of NWA. The one on the top left is one of our favorites, Paris, Rome, Bentonville. The culture and food in Northwest Arkansas is surprisingly world class. And then lastly, we also created a relocator toolkit that lived on the Finding NWA website, where we made a slideshow generator that you can go in and write in some data about yourself, and it'll give you a PowerPoint style presentation that you use to convince your family that moving to Northwest Arkansas is a great idea, right? It helps you kind of do the heavy lifting when you decide to move there, in kind of a fun, cheeky sort of way. And again, the how-to videos also lived on that site too. And that's kind of it. That's a snapshot of our campaign.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I think I've seen most of those, and I don't know if the folks in the audience that are watching this noticed that we actually have a few people that are actually right here that were on those videos. So that's the other thing. You can't go without watching a video of something and say, "Oh, I know that person," or "I know this person." So I saw Jay in that video like 4 times. That I thought that was funny.
That's
and,
amazing.
I love. I mean, just that whole encapsulating just what Northwest Arkansas is all about. I think you guys did a really great job with that. And there's still so much to be done. I have one question, and then there's a few questions in the chat box that I want to ask. But I did have one question for you. Did you guys make an effort to reach out to, the HR apparatus of different companies here in Northwest Arkansas that could actually benefit from this information as they're attracting talent? I'm thinking of all the CPG recruiters out there. Different, obviously the university, right? I mean, I've even talked to people that are relocating here on behalf of the university to encourage them. And I have a story that I'll share at the end of this, but I'd be curious to know what your thoughts were about that. And if you had those kind of communications with people locally here that are trying to attract talent.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, Walmart and Tyson and JB Hunt were prominently featured in the work that we did. And I don't think that Walrus specifically reached out to them, but they were definitely involved and knew what was going on.
Yeah. And JT, how would you view that from your perspective at Runway Group? Because I mean, you guys are also trying to attract people here. So what was your take, and how did you share this information?
Yeah, I do know that Nate and his team did their due diligence with a stakeholder roadshow. He just jumped in the chat here to go on the record. HR teams, CVBs in the region, and they really did their due diligence to make sure we had buy-in. On Runway Group, I actually saw this creative when it was in draft form too, and was blown away, and also thrilled to see a couple of our Runway Group establishments featured in there as well.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think it's important, right? I mean, I'm constantly telling people if you want to attract the best and the brightest, you've got to be able to tell the story about not just your company, but about the area where your company is located and where they're based. And I mean, the beautiful thing I think now is, and I'd be curious to hear from the Walrus folks or from you, JT, is when you look at this, you have since the pandemic, we have more companies that are looking at or embracing remote work like never before. You've got all of these row companies, the results only work environments where people can work wherever they want to work as long as they get the job done. And honestly, that's one of the foundations for why the Lifeworks Here campaign is so important. But I'm curious to know how much did that play a part in the role of this campaign? Anybody can answer that. Jillian.
I'll hop in first here. I think that we have a really great argument that this is the best remote work hub in the country.
Yeah.
And where else in the world can you walk out of your house in between Zooms and get on the best mountain biking trails in the world? And as long as you don't break any bones, you can make it back in time for your next Zoom call. I think the accessibility to the outdoors from our downtowns, from our residences, our neighborhoods, make us really unique as we make an argument nationally that this is the place that you should embrace your remote work lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Jasmine, Jay, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, in addition to the mountain biking, when the weather cooperates, there's tons of other outdoor events to do. I know like out in Rogers, they just built the outdoor park for the family and the kids, so you can go out, and then like literally right across the street from that is the railway. So on like really nice summer nights, they have live bands, and they have tons of outdoor things to do. So there's not just biking, there's like a budding nightlife, and there's different breweries going up. So like if you want to go out after work, and now that everyone's working from home, if you want to grab a drink or grab dinner with some friends and just reconnect with somebody, see somebody in person, you can totally do that here. And there's also unique experiences that are here to the Northwest Arkansas region. Like when I first moved here, like I'm originally from the Virgin Islands, and I moved here from Savannah, Georgia. So that's a whole different type of very Southern charm and pride. So when I moved here to the Midwest, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. Like if you would have told me that I would have went to a Squirrel Fest cook-off, I would have been like, never. And I had so much fun. I met so many different people that I'm still friends with today. So like just being open-minded and willing to try new things, because there's so many things to this area that are unique that you're not going to get on like say the East Coast or the West Coast. It's very, very specific to Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've eaten a ton of rabbit since I moved here and never thought I would do that. So there's that. I don't know if I'm crossing over to the squirrel side. Somebody's trying to get me to do that, but you basically would have to blindfold me and feed it to me, because I don't know that I would be able to do that without that. So well, I appreciate that. There are a couple of really good questions in the chat, and I want to do that before I ask a few others before we land this plane. Steve Feinberg said, and this is, I think, is important. He said, do you think telling the story of each city is just as important as telling the story of Northwest Arkansas as a whole? It seems to be getting harder to talk about Bentonville, Springdale, etc. as a singular place without mentioning one of the other cities in the region. I'm thinking of Siloam Springs. I'm thinking of Eureka Springs. So I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. I'd like to hear specifically from the Walrus team, and then JT, if you want to weigh in on that, I'd love to know what your thoughts are.
Sure. I think we intentionally treated the region as a whole, just because there's so much going on there. And even if you live there in one city, it's not like you can't go to any of the others. So I think there's definitely some standout things in each city, and they can stand on their own. But as a region, it's sort of like, there's the Twin Cities, that is the two cities. But in Northwest Arkansas, there's like 5 or 6 big cities. It makes it seem even more special in a way.
Yeah. And I would just echo that, like from a design programming standpoint, like we haven't really been able to like roll out like other thinking that we've done, but we definitely wanted to create an overall system that gave individual identity, like from a graphic design standpoint, to each city. And then, you could see that there was a quick slide that went through. There's been some design thinking about how to do that and then unify it in this sort of broader, like, badge. So yeah, I think going forward, more visits and and more immersion in the local culture, but also just getting to know the cities is something that's a priority for us. And seeing maybe more of that work come out too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I love this question, and in particular because it's a chance to talk about our downtowns. And I think that's part of what makes our region so special, is these unique and incredible downtown areas. And think about the development that's happening right now in downtown Springdale in particular. I was walking someone around downtown Bentonville last week, and they're like, this looks like it's like I'm on a lot, like in Disney. Like, this is this real? And I think you feel that way when you walk around a lot of our downtowns. Rail Yard Park, we just talked about, incredible. I mean, you could highlight in 5 seconds something that I love about each of our downtowns, and you can have a whole new experience that afternoon, that day, that weekend in each of our downtown areas, which I think is a huge piece of the overall story of crafting your own experience in each of our towns and our smaller towns, and then of course in the outdoors that surrounds all of them.
Yeah. I love that.
Just to build off what JT was saying, I think there's something individualistic about each town, but you can't experience that without experiencing it as a whole. Like, there's no way that you're gonna be in Bentonville and experience Bentonville and then not experience Fayetteville or Springdale or something. Like, eventually you're gonna end up passing through all those areas, as well as all of those communities are pretty well connected. So
Yeah, I think that's why the trail system is such. I mean, it's almost like it's like the vine and the branches, right? I mean, it's all connected, and that's the beauty of it. And I physically am in Fayetteville, but the trailhead. The goal of the just for people that are listening to this or watching from someplace else, I think one of the goals of planners as they continue to plan and build out the trail is that you're never more than half a mile from the trailhead, where you can jump on. I'm literally 1/10 of a mile from the trailhead, the Neocasca Creek Trail, and I can jump on there and ride all the way up to Bentonville and ride all the way to Crystal Bridges if I want to. And that's about a 25, 26 mile ride. And again, just beautiful trail riding. That's it. And it's all connected. And I'll meander and ride through downtown Springdale. I'll go through Lowell. I'll go through Rogers area, and then I hit Bentonville. And so it's just what they've described, and what it sounds like is really what it is. So you just have to experience it for yourself. Especially, I mean, those that live here, you guys already know, but anybody that doesn't live here, if you're watching this, you just need to come see it for yourself. And I think you'll understand what we're talking about here. I want to move on and talk about, because I certainly want to Runway Group is such a pillar in our community for all the things that they do and all of the programs that they offer. JT, I'd love to just kind of tell us a little bit about the Oz brands and that you guys operate in, and what story are you helping to tell about the region from the outdoor lifestyle perspective?
Well, it's a great segue from our conversation on connectivity and accessibility to our downtowns to talk about Oz Brands. So for those of you who are not familiar, Oz Brands is a community brand group that's dedicated to promoting unique cultural and outdoor experiences in Northwest Arkansas through our sub-brands, which is Fly Oz, which is unique backcountry aviation experiences around the region, Oz Art, which is a collection of over 400 works of art, many of which are in public places in our downtowns, on our trails, Oz Trails, which is the trails we've been talking about today, which is largely identifiable with our soft surface trails, over 400 miles of soft surface Oz trails in Northwest Arkansas, many of which connect back into the Razorback Greenway in various ways. And then a whole network of Oz brand licensees that are promoting unique services and amenities in the region on the sort of the fringes of the industry. So we really love the Oz brands, and we think about Oz brands like this. It's not just a trail. It's not just a piece of art that's on that trail. It's not just the plane that's flying above you to go land in a grass strip out in the middle of the mountains for you to then hop on a trail. but it's about crafting an experience for everyone. I see Bonnie just chimed in. Swim Oz, one of our favorite licensees, the unique experiences you can get on the open water in Northwest Arkansas, Beaver Lake and beyond. Oz is symbolic of the family of all these different things that take place in Northwest Arkansas. It's identifiable not just to the outdoor recreation activity or the art, but to the community that we build. It's not normal to be able to hop on your bike, ride around a bunch of world-class trails, hop off, and then grab a beer at Peddler's Pub, less than a mile from the square in downtown Bentonville. We take that for granted. We're used to that. That's what we know. And we think a lot of that is sort of capturing what it means to be a part of Oz, is it's that community of the people that are sitting around that table and experiencing it together. And what's great here is we have accessible trails, but we also have trails for people of all different adventure seekers, right? You can hike, you can camp, you can bike, you can run, you can walk. You can craft the experience that you want and that you feel comfortable and safe experiencing in Oz. You do not have to be going upside down on a mountain bike. I saw Garrett Hubbard asking a question earlier, commenting, I cannot keep up with Garrett Hubbard on a mountain bike. I would end up in the hospital. But I can take my daughter and go on what she calls the little bumpies, which are the good vibrations in Kohler Park. So we can find that experience that's just right for us. And that's what we believe really Oz, the essence of Oz is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll just echo, Bonnie convinced me to get out of a very warm bed on a Sunday morning to swim a mile around the Beaver Lake Dam. And I did that. And I hadn't done open water swimming in years. And it was such a great event. I mean, the vibrancy of the people out there, the community, and I'm going to do it again this year. And so shout out to Bonnie for just representing Swim Oz the way she does. And just you're absolutely right, JT, that's what that whole community is all about. And I would say to anybody, for the uninitiated, if you're hearing all this and it says, oh, this sounds too good to be true, or I'm sure it's not really like that, it really is like that. And any of us that live here can attest to the fact that you can jump on the Greenway, you can go to a mountain bike trail, make a new friend, I've met friends, people that I've hung out with, that I've just met out and about in these settings, because that's just the way things are. So it's really true. It really is true. I do want to ask Jasmine and Jay, what inspired you guys to start Jazzy J NWA and Black Owned NWA? What was I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd be curious for you to share with the audience the why behind why you started your whole focus and your program.
Okay, so if you know me and Jasmine, we are the best of friends. We actually met here in Northwest Arkansas. Don't ask us how we met. We literally cannot remember. I think I met Jasmine on a Tuesday, and like by Friday, we were on the way to Dallas. But we're always, we're both proud HBCU grads. We were taught, at our alma maters, be active in your community, network within your community, volunteer within your community. So we're always up and being active. And it got to the point where everyone would see us everywhere, and they would ask, like, people would literally hit us up on a Friday, like, what is there to do in the area? We see you guys at everything. And we're just like, you know what? To cut all the corners, we're going to post it on Instagram. So we started posting things that we would do. And then people were coming to us that were moving to the area, asking us, like, what else is there available? So then if you go to our stories on our Instagram, every morning by like 9 a.m. we usually post. Now we post on the weekends, but usually we post everything there is to do in the area. We cover all of the regions, because we also got tired of hearing people saying that there was nothing to do here. And we were like, there is stuff to do here. You just have to be open-minded and willing to try it all. It's not going to be like in Austin or in Atlanta. It's a little bit different, but there's tons of things to do. And we started posting stuff like that. And then eventually we were running into people of color were moving to the area, specifically African Americans were moving to the area. And they were just like, well, how can a lot of the feedback we were getting where they didn't feel that they could integrate themselves within the community. They were like, well, where can I go to get my hair done? Where can I take the kids where they can hang out and meet other kids that, are their age and hang out and stuff. So then we started Black Owned NWA to kind of highlight a lot of the businesses and the services and just resources in the area. And then we were also meeting entrepreneurs that have been here for 20, 30 years that are kind of like their own hidden gems in a way, where we were just like, well, how do we amplify and show people like this is here, this is something that you can tap into. So Black owned NWA kind of like spun off of Jazzy J NWA, and it literally was just highlighting young Black millennials in Northwest Arkansas thriving. Like, you can thrive here, you just have to be open to the possibilities. And we're just like, let us show you. And it kind of like, it's taken off and taken on a life of its own. Like we had no idea we'd get this big.
It really has. And I'm just going to give you guys a shameless plug by just saying that one of the things I really appreciate with you guys is that you are platform sharers, right? And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. Everybody's got their platform. I mean, Runway Group has their platform. I mean, all the different, I've seen like, I've done things with Runway Group. I've done things with some of their other subsidiaries, and everybody is open and willing to share their platform. I've shared my platform, the little one that I have, and I've just found that there's something about that, right? That we're open and willing to share that, because I think we all understand that, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And if we can take that approach to attracting people to the area, to encouraging people to stay in the area, right? Because once you get people here, you want them to stay. You don't want them to leave. And, you know, unfortunately, we lose a lot of people just by the very nature of the work that they do, especially in the CPG environment. And that's fine. But we want people to know that, you know, like that old, I don't know if it was a Ramada Inn slogan, we'll leave the light on for you. But, you know, we're always going to leave the light on for you here in Northwest Arkansas so that you can come back, even if you leave. And like you guys left for 7 months. And I was like, what are you doing going to Jersey City? But you guys came back, and I was so happy. I was so excited. I was like one of the first people to text you. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are coming back.
The amount of people that were trying to help us get back here, it was insane. We're back. We never left.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, man, we could go on. And I want to just a couple of questions real quickly. Two things, and anybody can answer this. If you had to think about some other great storytellers out there that are just crushing it, who are they and what are they doing that are unique? They can either be locally or nationally, and anybody can answer this. I would just be curious to know what other storytellers might you recommend to our audience?
Off the top of mind, Feed the Malik. She recently just relocated here. Her and her husband just relocated here from the DC area.
Yes.
And she specializes in highlighting local cuisine in the area. And she's done doing an amazing job highlighting the local food scene here for people that aren't familiar with Northwest Arkansas.
Right.
And then I think one other person is you. You're doing an amazing job highlighting everyone in the region. Like, I am Northwest Arkansas. I literally point everyone, like, you want to get a good idea of the area and the people that live here, I always recommend your podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. JT, you want to add anybody to that list?
Yeah, I'd like to give a little shout out to a couple of my former colleagues down in the University of Arkansas Athletic Department, Kevin Trainer and Kyle Parkinson, who lead the communication efforts down there. Obviously, that's an incredibly popular and an incredibly visible brand. But what they do a really great job is highlighting the individual stories of our student athletes that come through, both local kids that make it good and make it big, and then young men and women that come from all over the country to Northwest Arkansas, find success and are embraced and loved by this community, many of which end up working in our businesses for many, many years and never leaving. So they do an outstanding job highlighting and telling those stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about you guys, Walrus team? I mean, you guys are a den of storytellers.
Well, we definitely try to be storytellers about the region ourselves, but also I think the Finding NWA site offers a lot too. There's stories of people who have moved to the region through the talent incentive program that are really inspiring and interesting. Yeah, that was key to us, and hearing from those people just how that all went. So that was great.
Okay. All right. Great. So last thing, favorite thing about Northwest Arkansas, favorite hangout spot, and favorite place to eat. I'm going to start with the folks that aren't from here, that have been here. So what was your favorite hangout spot and favorite place to eat, Walrus team?
Well, I'm really excited to get back and get in deeper. I think like it's really important that this region maintains and retains its own integrity, and it doesn't get planed over by development. And so I felt that there, and I want to be around more of that. But I was really struck by the museum, by the Crystal Bridge Museum, and I spent a lot of time in the North Forest, and that was really cool. It was a limited experience, but that was a really special, experience for me there. So.
Okay, Jillian.
Well, you guys got me on a mountain bike for the first time ever, and I survived. And actually, I dream about doing it again. So that was one of the things I loved. I also loved the momentary, and I saw a play at Theater Squared. That was really fun, and I would definitely recommend it.
Awesome. That's awesome. JT.
I'll say Osage Park. Where else can you play pickleball, go for a run, fish, shoot archery, and then walk across to Thaden Field and have a great lunch and watch airplanes land? So that would be my number one spot. And my kids love all of those things. So that would be my number one rack, would be Osage Park.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Jay?
My favorite spot would probably be 8th Street Market. I love 8th Street Market. You can go grab tacos at Yayo's, or you can go hang and sit outside over at Bike Rack. I really, really, really miss the holler. I'm hoping we can figure out a way to get back. That was it. Like, if there was a place where you wanted to go to connect with people, get a good meal, and just have a great ambiance, that was it. I really do miss it. But 8th Street Market as a whole, I love that whole area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just share Preacher's Son, which is part of Rope Swing, Heirloom in Rogers, Chef Jason Paul, my man Matt Cooper. Anything that Matt Cooper is cooking is outstanding and amazing. Of course, you got Chef Michael Robert Shaw, who's making some of the best pizza in the country at Pizzeria Ruby in Johnson. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, we just have so much. It's hard to just pick one thing. And I know somebody's going to be mad with me because I didn't mention their spot, but just know that I love you and that your place is important as well. So no, there's just so much to see. There's so much to do. And I will add this one little hidden gem that a lot of people don't talk about, which is the Museum of Native American History, which is right off of downtown Bentonville. That is one of the most it was a private collection that is open to the public, and it is outstanding. And I love history, and it's really cool. There's so much good things out there for you to take advantage of. And I'll end with this before I thank everybody. Morgan Fasalak said, love this so much. He's talking about this event. When I told my dad I was moving here, he told me he'd pay me not to move here. You guys absolutely nailed the highlights of Northwest Arkansas. And I think on that note, we didn't get the chance to answer or do every question on here, but we certainly have those. So we will respond to those individuals. I think all of you guys were able to touch upon a number of the questions and things that people wanted to be aware of. So I want to thank all of you so much. Jillian Dresser, Creative Director at Walrus, Jeff Hale, Head of Design at Walrus, JT Jaron, Deputy Director of Communications and Marketing at Runway Group, and Jay Merchant and Jasmine Hudson, both from Jazzy J NWA and Black Owned NWA. We'll make sure that you guys have their contact information. You can find them online. Walrus is easy to find online. And certainly, we certainly encourage you to reach out to these folks if you have any questions about the campaign, and we will do more of these. If you're trying to convince anybody to move here to Northwest Arkansas, you need to share with them the Lifeworks Here campaign, the work that the Northwest Arkansas Council is doing to make sure that people know that this is a great place to live and a great place to raise a family, a great place to call home. You have to understand that these folks are serious about what they're doing, and they're doing a great job of it with the help of organizations like Walrus, certainly with the help of organizations like Runway Group and Jazzy J NWA, Black Owned NWA, and so many other groups that have all come together. And I will say this as I end. I was taught a long time ago that, and my grandfather told me, wherever you go, make sure people know you are there. And he said, if you're going to pour into a city and give as much as you can, because the city will ultimately give back to you. And I think of it, when I came here, my goal was to pour into Northwest Arkansas. Not that I was looking for a quid pro quo in return, but that I knew that I would benefit from my time and experience here. And I got to say, I'm 52. These have been 8 of the richest years of my life here in Northwest Arkansas. Lifelong friendships, just great experiences. I'm able to raise my family here. And as an African American, for me, it's significant. And I mean, there is something for everyone. Everyone. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what you look like, what you do. There's something for everyone here in Northwest Arkansas. So if nothing else, take that to heart as you listen to this. Share this with somebody that you're trying to convince to come be your neighbor. And just remember to let them know that you heard about it first here at Onward Ozarks through the Northwest Arkansas Council. I'm Randy Wilburn, the host of Onward Ozarks. I'm so thankful for you joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we will see everyone soon. And those of you that signed up in advance, you will get your Uber Eats cards. We haven't forgotten about you, but we appreciate this, and we appreciate you joining us today for this edition of Onward Ozarks. You guys have a great day. Peace.